A proud rugby nation in ruins, from winners to woeful, and with a new regime on the way. This is the predicament the Welsh national rugby side currently finds themselves in. Never have we seen a more drastic fall from grace than what we see in the present day from the Red Dragons. Once a great side filled with superstars, Wales are currently a team without cohesion and direction. Now, with legendary Welsh coach Warren Gatland vacating the helm by mutual agreement, things could get even worse. The big asking point during this turbulent time is, can they turn it around? Sitting without a win since the 2023 Rugby World Cup, it can't get much worse, can it? For Welsh fans sitting in the stands or watching at home, we hate to break it to you, but it just might. Well, that's exactly what we'll be looking at today, and so much more as we pull back the curtain and take a deep dive into the scary truth about Wales that nobody's noticing. But before we do that, we ask that you like the video, subscribe to our channel, and comment your thoughts down below. Now, without further ado, let's get back to the video. To add insult to injury of what was quite possibly the most catastrophic international season for a team in rugby history, Wales have not gotten off to a good start in the 2025 Six Nations. While losing to this French side is no laughing matter, the status of Welsh rugby at the moment just might be. This unenviable record of having lost 14 test matches on the trot at the time of recording, however, didn't happen overnight, and the scary truth behind it all may just shock you. So where did it all begin? Well, Wales went into the 2023 Rugby World Cup hoping to prove the public wrong. And it may surprise you seeing the team now, but they exceeded a lot of people's expectations. Sure, Australia is currently nothing special either, but Wales walloped the Wallabies by 40 points to 6 in the group stage. In fact, they beat all challengers in the group stage, including a very exciting and dangerous Fijian side. This set up a quarter-final clash with the Pumas, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is where the losing streak began. Who would have predicted that it would get this bad though? Certainly not us. Wales have a rich rugby history and have produced some of the greatest players to ever play the game. For those who are old enough to recall the pre-professional days of the 1970s, few teams could match the might of Wales. In their golden generation of the 70s was a player who many from back in the day considered to be the greatest player to ever touch a rugby ball. Yes, before the greats like Dan Carter and Richie McCaw entered the GOAT conversation, there was one man who stood head and shoulders above the rest. Well, not literally, because he was a small scrum half, but figuratively. Gareth Edwards remains an icon in world rugby and a pioneer of the game we love so much. Alongside the wavy-haired Welshmen in that great side were fellow superstars JPR Williams and Gerald Davis. In recent memory, Wales have continued their successes. In fact, the 2010s and early 2020s were particularly fruitful for them. During this era, under the now former head coach Warren Gatland, Wales went on to win 4 Six Nations titles. They also made it to the semi-finals of the World Cup in 2011 and 2019. Many forget that they very nearly pit the Springboks side that went on to win the tournament, narrowly losing out by 19 points to 16, and yet here we are in 2025, speaking about a 14-game losing streak with Wales sitting at 11th on the Rugby World Rankings. Where are the players with the quality of Lee Halfpenny, Alan Wynne-Jones and Sam Warburton? Where is the pride and passion of the once proud Red Dragons? And most importantly, where is the effective game plan that saw Warren Gatland achieve so much success at the helm of Welsh rugby? As rugby fans, we often only see what is on the field, but there is something far darker going on behind the scenes which is leading to this shift in fortune. As is the case with most organisations, problems or victories start at the top. Take football giants like Manchester United, for example. At this stage, it doesn't matter which players they sign, the structures in place are faulty, and therefore the club will continue to disappoint fans around the world. Wales has gone through something very similar amongst several other contributing factors. The Welsh Rugby Union, as it stands, is rotten at the core, with very little sign of things turning around. Amongst Welsh rugby's top brass have been growing concerns surrounding the hiring and firing of members in leadership positions. Quite literally, WRU Executive Director Nigel Walker walked away from his role after being appointed in 2023. Walker's time in the hot seat and that of his predecessor were not without its challenges. In fact, Welsh rugby has had to deal filled with some horrible allegations of sexism, misogyny, homophobia, and racism. This was all unraveled in a BBC investigation. The strategies put in place by the upper management simply have not paid off, and they don't look like they will anytime soon. Chief Executive Abby Tierney was brought in to try and turn things around in 2024, and well, we all know how that page in the story read. Tierney and her chairman, Richard Collier-Keywood's ideas have simply fallen short, and Welsh rugby is suffering as a result. Can the two executives and President Terry Cobner make the right choices up top and put the correct procedures in place for a redemption arc? We await to see. Of course, some of the blame must be placed on the team itself and the men who get them ready for game day. Warren Gatland was a head coach with an impressive resume to say the least, and despite his recent downfall, he had taken Welsh rugby very far. The team of the 2010s, which he built, were filled with homegrown stars, and the team had a great chemistry. The combinations of Jamie Roberts and Jonathan Davies complemented the individual brilliance of players such as George North and Toby Faletau, and yet he wasn't able to rebuild this team in the way he did before. It was never going to be easy, losing an entire generation of experienced, seasoned veterans who knew how to win. More importantly, Gatland had their backing, and they had his. It's easy to be nostalgic and say that this current group can't match the one you grew up watching, but even if we remove the lens of nostalgia, this group doesn't come close. To illustrate this, we can look at the British and Irish Lions tours over the last 16 years. Every tour was filled with Welshmen, from the front rankers such as Adam Jones, all the way to the speedy wingers such as Liam and Shane Williams. Wales formed a major part of the squads of the past, but with the 2025 tour to Australia fast approaching, it's hard to think of one player who would make the squad. In fact, can you name a player in the Welsh squad that you would take on that tour? Gatland had a history of getting the best out of his players, but this is not what we saw in the last 2 years. The game plan was not effective, and the players seemed flat, and the outcome is more of the same. And now that Gatland has stepped away, and Cardiff head coach Matt Sherratt has been appointed until the end of the Six Nations, we wait to see if anything will change. Much like Manchester United, however, if they were to bring in a different head coach, would it make any difference at all? Word on the street is that former Ireland head honcho Joe Schmidt will be stepping away from Australian rugby at the end of the year and could be a viable option for the Red Dragons. South African Franco Smith has also been linked with a job. Who would you appoint? Let us know down below. If the results for the Welshmen weren't bad enough in 2024 and now in 2025, then fan attendance will certainly add insult to injury. Growing dissatisfaction with their team's performances has led to fewer fans making the trip to watch the games. Boos and fans leaving the stadium early are just the tip of the iceberg. We once saw the home of Welsh rugby packed with fans covered head to toe in red, wearing the famous sunflowers around their faces, but no longer. While there are those that remain loyal, die-hard supporters with faith that things will turn around, we're not so sure they will. Not too long ago, the Principality Stadium, formerly known as the Millennium Stadium, was hosting close to 70,000 fans per home game, but now the numbers have dropped by over 15%. With the way the team is performing, this doesn't seem to be changing anytime soon, and can you blame the fans for feeling this way? One fan recently stated on Instagram that for every point Wales loses by in each of their games, he will run a mile. Well, things certainly started off badly for him, because in the first week of his challenge, he had a 43-mile run to complete. When and where will things improve? Welsh rugby is in some dark times, and for many around the world, it is sad to see them in this situation. We hope they will find a winning formula soon enough before things get even worse. With all the challenges in their way compounding, it may take a miracle to fix the current state of Welsh rugby, but you know what? Anything is possible in rugby. We hope you've enjoyed our take on Welsh rugby. Now it's your turn to have your say down below. As always, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and keep an eye out for plenty more content like this. Until next time, bye for now.